Alright, it's time for our speed round review again. This is fun, isn't it?
You love these, don't you?
Oh, God.
It's October, by the way.
Yeah.
Another month is gone. I'm
Right.
getting ready to come back from Orlando, but I got one more week of Horror Nights.
I'm about to be a quarter of a century old. Fun.
The meetup last night probably was pretty awesome, and I'm looking forward to the one on Sunday.
Okay, let's speed through these 10 real quick.
Okay.
I'll let you know if they're worth it or not. If you know, you probably know what most of them are looking at them. Some of them are film festival movies, some of them are just really small releases, some of them are movies that just came and went real fast. Many of the like. We're going to start with She's Funny That Way, which is Peter Bogdanovich's new movie since... Did he do anything between this and The Cat's Meow?
I don't think so.
It feels like he's been gone a long time.
I haven't heard that name since then. I don't... Well, unless it's something really limited.
I think he did like TV stuff or something. But this is basically... He's been around for a long time, so I don't know why he felt the need to do a Woody Allen movie. But that is exactly what he did here. He made a fucking Woody Allen movie.
That's awesome. What sounds awesome?
We have Owen Wilson, who helps out a prostitute played by Imogen Poots. But his girlfriend is Catherine Hahn, who he does, he's the director of stage productions with, and an actor who is also buddy-buddy with him, but also has a secret thing with Catherine Hahn, is Risa Fons. And we have, who the fuck else is in this movie? Everybody. There's cameos out there, so make sure you don't learn those. But we also have, Sybil Shepherd is in it. We have... there are a lot of people in this movie, okay?
See that on the poster alone.
And that's it kind of sets up that way, but then there's a whole... Will Forte ends up falling for Imogen Poots. And he works with Owen Wilson as well. It's basically how Imogen Poots works her way into everybody's life that's in the movie in one way or another. Lucy Punch is in there for a scene. A scene, even though I'm pretty sure she made the poster. And there are a few cameos from previous Bogdanovich movies or just people he's worked with. And there is one magnificently glorious cameo in the very last scene of the movie that I love so much.
Gee, I wonder who it is. I'm staring at it right now.
I'm so glad I didn't know that going in. As soon as I had heard there were cameos in the movie, I was like, well, I'm not going to IMDb then.
I wonder how much is ruined if you look at it, because I'm looking at the cast right now.
So that's all I will say. There's another name that probably stood out too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he and Bogdanovich go way back. So
did I know that?
So I think it is fine. The main issue here is the fact that it just reeks of being kind of like a low tier Woody Allen movie. It's like when you go to a Woody Allen movie and you're not overwhelmed, but you're not exactly disappointed either. You're just kind of right in that middle ground where you're like, okay, that was fine. That's kind of the level that's kind of the normal level we should be at. That's pretty much what this is. All of the cast is, most of the cast does really well. Risa Fons is actually one of the particular standouts. He's that character who's kind of like an actor's actor type, but he's also constantly trying to get into trouble and stir trouble, and he just plays this part really well. Imogen Poots' voice was kind of off-putting to me for a while, because she's doing like a really blatant accent that she clearly does not have in real life. But as the movie goes on and her character becomes more likable, you kind of get used to it. You kind of just live with it, and it's fine. It doesn't feel all that forced, the way each character connects with the other, and the way the situations they get themselves involved in are, you know... like I said, it's such a Woody Allen movie, but it's still fine, you know. As we know, Bogdanovich has been around for a long time. I think his first legit movie, I think, was Targets. There might be one before that, I don't remember. Which is a really awesome movie about a sniper at a drive-in theater.
Yeah.
I love that movie.
It's good stuff.
So, it's fine for a while, like, I was into it, and I wasn't into it at first, and then I got into it for most of it, but then at the end it kind of falls apart and gets really messy, and a bit dumb, but for the most part, it's likable enough, and I think people that watch it will have a decent time with it, especially if you're a Woody Allen fan. Our next movie, real quick. I'm gonna do Star Mass as I go to kind of speed things up here. That's 2.5 for She's Funny That Way. The same, you might need to remind me of that if I accidentally move on.
Don't worry, I will. I got this.
Okay, our second movie is Child 44. And the thing you might remember most about Child 44 is, isn't it considered like one of the biggest box office bombs in like a very long time?
I mean, it's not Delco or anything, but it's bad.
We Are Your Friends did that this year too. There are a lot of them.
Such a shame.
This movie was like on what 700 screens and made like less than $1 million or something. It was bad.
It did on the box office.
It's got a big cast though. We have Tom Hardy, we have Noomi Rapace, we have Gary Oldman, we have Jason Clarke, we have Vincent Cassel, we have Patty Considine. A whole lot of people that have worked together before that just kind of converge in this movie.
Dev Patel.
Huh?
Yeah.
What?
It's all Dev Patel in here.
That can't be right.
That's what it says.
I don't remember seeing him.
That's not good.
And the movie is almost 2.5 hours long. And it's basically, we're at a time where there are children being killed, and it's being made to look like accidents. They're being killed by Patty Considine, and it's basically Tom Hardy's job to try to figure out who this is and whether or not they're accidents or they're murders, and while at the same time protecting his wife, who is Noomi Rapace. There's not a lot done with this big cast list. Gary Oldman is barely there. There is Jason Clarke only has a few scenes, and they do. I guess they don't even really do what they can, being the good actors that they are. They just kind of, they're just kind of here. And in Vincent Cassel's case, one thing that you can't take your mind off of is the fact that he replaced Philip Seymour Hoffman in this role. I think Hoffman dropped out prior to his death, and I think that's why he's not in it, as opposed to that being the reason. And so I was like, you drop Phil Seymour Hoffman, and it's like, okay, but then you get Vincent Cassel, and you're like, oh, well, I'm still interested then, because this is great. And it's really a nothing part after all that. He's just kind of like this head authority figure of sorts. That's pretty much it. There's half the people in this movie, I'm not quite sure what exactly their purpose was. The main story is just Tom Hardy trying to figure out if children are being murdered. And it's very, very dull. You've got a whole list of great actors here, and they're just kind of, I guess through no fault of their own, it's mainly direction and writing, if I had to guess. There's really just not a lot happening here. And when your runtime is almost 2.5 hours and you have this kind of cast list, you need to be fucking doing something. And this movie's not doing it. So, it's not terrible. I mean, it's not gonna, like, kill you if it interests you enough for you to want to watch it. I don't think it's gonna kill you, but there are much better ways to spend 2 hours and 20 minutes, for sure. And most of them involve other movies starring the people in this movie. So, that's Child 44. That would be 2 stars for that. Our next movie is Strangerland, an Australian movie starring Nicole Kidman, Joseph Fiennes, and Hugo Weaving. And I'm assuming a lot of moviegoers have seen Picnic and Hanging Rock by now, the Peter Weir movie, where the girls disappear. As you can see, we are set in Australia again, only this time we're like in the outback and the desert and all that. But it's pretty much the same movie. Children mysteriously disappear. It's the children of Nicole Kidman and Joseph Fiennes, and it's a son and a daughter. And they like to sneak out every night and go and get into trouble and hang out at the skate park and do all that. But one night, they leave and they don't come back, and they go missing. And we basically see how the rest of the town reacts to that. And secrets that were hidden below are suddenly rising, and everything's in haywire. Everybody's fucking everybody. Everybody's, might know something or might not know something. The children may be dead somewhere. They may have run away. Nobody knows anything. There's a whole bunch of mystery going on. Obviously, my main interest in this was the fact that Kidman is my favorite actress, and she does deliver here. Seems to be getting harder for her to find these parts that she can really sink her teeth into and remind people why she once had the status that she has. had, but that she really should get back by now. And you know, Fines is fine. I always love Hugo Weaving. There's a lot going for it, and it's okay. There's a lot. It's another really, really slow burn movie. There's a lot of stuff where kind of just not a whole lot is happening. And it probably will seem completely anticlimactic to a lot of people for being almost 2 hours of complete and total build-up. But you know, if Picnic at Hanging Rock was your thing, it might be easier for you to get into it. The direction is fine, but this guy certainly isn't a weir by any means. But yeah, all things considered, I thought it was fine. But maybe that's my Kidman bias. I don't know, but I was all right with it. But I can understand if somebody were to have a negative reaction to it, because it's just one of those movies where you kind of take to it or you don't. So that's 2.5. Our next movie is The Last 5 Years, which I was not sure exactly how to take this because it clearly wasn't what I thought it was. I had assumed it was at TIFF, I think. It was TIFF or Sundance. And it is a movie starring Anna Kendrick and a dude I don't know, who I might have seen in one or two things that I just don't remember. And it's basically about them breaking up. It's basically like 500 Days of Summer if the entire thing was a musical and not just that one scene. Basically, and most of it was all the happy stuff. But it is a musical based on a show that's, I guess, been around for at least a few years. And almost the entire thing is done in song. There is dialogue here and there, but for the most part, it's done almost entirely in song. And that takes getting used to when that's not what you expect. But once it got going, the two leads are appealing enough, especially her, to where it's enough to get invested in. And it's, you know, for the most part, it's undeniably sweet, and the song, sometimes the lyrics are really weird and clearly just kind of reaching, but there's also some really good ones in there too. But so yeah, and of course, you know, there's rarely a movie now where Kendrick is not singing, so you know she can do that. There's like Rocket Science and maybe the Twilight movies and Scott Pilgrim. I think she sings in every other movie she's ever been in. Even Up in the Air had that karaoke scene on the boat. So.
True. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, so it's fun. It's got a nice ending too, where it's kind of it actually, for a while there, it's you kind of wonder why you're supposed to feel for them, because she wants to be an actress and he's going to be, you know, something big, and he ends up taking off and becoming really successful, and she's just kind of stuck here and still as a struggling actress, and they kind of have to, one of them has to kind of try to be with the other despite the opposite situations. And we know from the get-go that it doesn't work out, but we see their situation as it goes, from when the first time they're together to when they get married to just everything, and then as we slowly come back around to the unfortunate part of their relationship. And it's well told enough, and it's fine. It's kind of, like I said, sometimes it's kind of hard to get into and it's kind of hard to sympathize with them, but for the most part, her likability and the songs in themselves make it what it is and make it something worthwhile in the long run.
Sounds like similar to like Nights and Weekends. Somewhat.
Sounds similar to a lot of things. Pretty much any relationship movie ever that tries to take the realistic tone of, you know, being about the... Yeah. That's 2.5. Our next movie is Far From the Madding Crowd. Okay, look. This... I know going in already this is not my type of movie, because I relatively recently saw the not original movie, but one of the adaptations of it, the one that I believe Julie Christie was the star of. And I didn't like it then. I didn't like the story, I didn't like that movie, I didn't like its fucking length, almost 3 hours. But this one is chopped down. This one is a clean cut, about 2 hours. It's about 1:50 something. And I was in pain the whole time. First off, I'm not much of a Carey Mulligan fan. She had a few standout scenes in Drive, but for the most part, I just find her really bland, and I've never really taken her. She was fine in Llewyn Davis, but just I've never cared for an education. There's really nothing I like about Shame. There's just
he shares this opinion with not me, obviously, because I'm a big fan.
She's just not an actress I've taken to yet. I'm sure she'll win me over at some point, I'm sure, but right now I'm just not.
Suffragette might do it.
And I doubt it.
Well, it's not your type of movie.
So the thing here is, it's exactly what you expect it to be. It is every goddamn period piece ever made. There's accents, and there's marriage proposals, and there is, secret affairs. There's all that bullshit. And it's just 2 hours of people. Okay, look, listen. It has a really promising cast too, because we have when you compare it to the other movie, we have Mulligan and Julie Christie's part. We have Schoenart's in the Alan Bates part. We have Michael Sheen in the part played by who was in it? I don't remember. Tom Sturridge and Terrence Stamp played each other's characters, and Michael Sheen in the original movie was played by Peter Finch. Yes, I got it without looking it. And so that's a good cast. That's a really good cast, especially Michael Sheen. My God, and Michael Sheen is really good in this movie. He has some really good scenes.
Michael Sheen's really good anyway.
Yes, but for the love of God, I really could not wait for this movie to be over. It just kept going. And every time there would be this big... I don't give a fuck about anybody in this movie. The characters in this movie are just fucking... You just want to beat them all to death. You just hate them all. They are fucking pieces of shit. I hate them. I think that's why I didn't like the other movie either. I don't know, apart from the fact that I was just bored out of my fucking skull. That's kind of the same case with this movie. And every time there's like a big plot turn where you're like, whoa, I didn't see that coming. I'm just kind of staring at the screen saying, I don't fucking care. And then another big turn happens. I'm like, I really, really don't fucking care. More turns happen. I just don't fucking care. I want to beat my screen to death until these characters get off of it. I just didn't care for this. I don't care for any variation I've seen of this story at all. I don't like the story. I don't like the adaptations of it. I don't fucking like it at all. It's boring as shit, and I don't fucking like any aspect of it whatsoever. Juno Temple's in this one, too. But she's just there to be like, hey, I am meek little Juno Temple. Everybody likes me. And it's like, oh, I'm a beggar now. And then, oh, I'm dead. Please give me change. But I'm dead now, so you can't.
Give me change because I'm dead.
Well, she turned into a beggar before she got sick and died. Because you have to force some kind of emotion into this movie somewhere. You're like, look how meek and sad she is. And she's Juno Temple. And you like her. She's dead now.
She coughed into a handkerchief as well?
I think she was pregnant, too.
Oh, man.
So she just died. Both of them died. It died within her. They all die.
And AJ dies a little bit more thinking about it.
I hate it.
I know.
I hate everything. I hate this. I really hate this.
I heart Carey Mulligan.
1.5. Their production values, and it's just not a 1-star movie. I really fucking hate it though.
No lie.
Our next movie is Hungry Hearts, which is the movie that it's really taking us by storm because everybody's starting to love Adam Driver now.
Yeah.
Me included, for sure.
Biggest heel in Star Wars history coming up.
And he's really showing he's a really good actor. And he and the actress in this both won the acting prizes at the Venice Film Festival, which is a big deal. So I was very curious to see this since Adam Driver's really taken off right now. And this is a very, very bizarre-ass movie that starts with the two of them in a restaurant bathroom. Excuse me. And the issue here is that Adam Driver's character has food poisoning. So he's stuck in the bathroom. And they're stuck in there with this stench, obviously. Because it just keeps happening to him. And she's locked in... The door is stuck, so she is locked in there with him. And while being trapped in the bathroom with this atrocious smell, they somehow fall in love with each other. And they get married and they have a child. But then it turns into, we think it's going to be like something kind of supernatural because she goes to a psychic and they're going to have what is potentially called an indigo child, which is some supernatural thing that you can Google. And it kind of turns into, they were really, really trying for a Polanski thing here, clearly, with some of like the overhead shots and the some repulsions in there too, with the claustrophobia of it. And of course the whole it's kind of a Rosemary's Baby approach for a while there as well. And then it just kind of goes, and then we learn that the mother is really not all here, and Adam Driver's character basically has to fight so that their baby can survive. It's a weird, fucked up movie, and I'm still not quite sure how I feel about it. The performances are really good. It's a bit melodramatic, but still, the performances are what carries it. There are some interesting turns here and there. The climax, not so much. That seemed a little. That's another one of those cases where it's like they realize they have to cut the movie off at some point, so they just kind of they just throw this in there and just. So I don't know, but it's certainly something that you can't really have somebody describe it to you too much. You just kind of have to see it for yourself if that's your thing and see how you react to it. Because I imagine this gets a lot of different reactions from different people. Mine is just good performances, I suppose. But they really do carry it a long way there, though, especially Driver's performance. So yeah, that's pretty much all I can say about that without saying too much. That's quite a bit, but still, you just kind of have to see it if this interests you. It's interesting. It's not like there's a lot of Hitchcock comparisons too, but that I didn't really get. I did get the Polanski thing though, so I get that. So if that's your kind of thing, you'll probably be into this, or you've probably seen this already, I have to guess. So yeah, it's fine mainly for the performances, but it's interesting to say the least. Well, yes, I guess we'll say 2.5. It's fine. Our next movie is Spring, which is I'm not sure how many people know about this. It's a very, very small indie movie. That's romance, but it's getting attention because it's considered horror, with a little bit of sci-fi. There's, like I was telling you yesterday, that could be its own genre now. Indie, horror, drama, sci-fi, romance.
Pretty much.
Because there's a whole lot of movies kind of trying to do this area now. And a lot of people think it's a genre that's really taking off. Yeah, it certainly has its moments. Other times, I'm not so sure. But what starts it off here is we have Lou Taylor Pucci, who is our star, who I love so much in Thumbsucker, and he was one of the only things I liked about the Evil Dead remake. He's a really good young actor. I think he's still young. I don't know. Thumbsucker was like 10 years ago now. I don't know. But his life is just crumbling down. His mom has just died on him. He has nobody. He has no family. He's just gotten into a bar fight that could potentially get him arrested. So he decides to hop the next plane to Italy and just hang out there with stoners and get drunk until he meets a girl that he falls for after a one-night stand. And it goes from there. This is generally, I think, where people probably stop saying what goes on in this movie, because you just kind of have to watch it unfold. There's a number of things it could be. What it ends up being is not exactly what I was expecting, and I'm still not quite sure exactly what all it is. But it is a charm. It actually works as a charming love story for most of it. But weirdly enough, once we really delve into the horror sci-fi aspect of it, that actually propels it into like a romantic comedy. It's a really hard movie to explain. And it's apparently, after I watched it, I went and looked at some of the reviews to see what people were saying. Apparently this is one of those type of movies that brings out the pretension in people. This is one of those movies that people watch where they say, like, this isn't the Hostel that you thought it was. Go watch your Gore Fest, you fucking idiots. It brings out those reviewers.
Oh yeah, that's quite annoying.
The kids who were probably like 19 in college watching this on their computers or something. It's, it's an interesting watch, but it's, you know, it's certainly not that. There's some gore in it for sure. There are some things that I kind of like were just, don't show me that. But the thing about it is, I was with it for a while, but once it reaches that last half hour, when we're starting to get everything explained to us, and they're actually almost taking like a fun comedic approach to it. That's fine, like by itself, but within the rest of the movie, it made it start feeling really uneven, and I really wasn't sure how to take that. It seemed kind of, it's one of those movies where when you watch the beginning and you watch the middle and you watch the end, it's like watching three totally different movies, but it doesn't necessarily do it in a way that feels all that cohesive. So if you're gonna have all those things, different things going on, that's great, but you gotta kind of make them feel like a whole, and this movie doesn't really do that, which is really the only thing that hurts it. So yeah, it's still fun. It's certainly, you'll wanna check it out if you're into things like this where you just have no idea what to expect, and it just kind of takes you on this thing. But just check it out if that's your thing. That's a 2.5 for that. Alright, we have 3 to go. Our next one is Song 1, which is another new movie. This was at Sundance, I think, and stars Anne Hathaway.
A lot of very beautiful ladies in this, represented in this video.
Getting paid practically no money to be in these movies.
No lie.
So, the movie starts with her brother, who she hasn't seen in a long time, and who she kind of bickered with a lot and hasn't been in contact with for a little while. And he gets hit by a car and put in a coma. So the movie is basically her trying to deal with, I guess, the guilt of the fact that they haven't really, you know, been communicative with each other, and the fact that his, you know, situation's outcome is unknown to everybody. And she's trying to, she has scenes with her mom. Her mom is Mary Steenburgen, I think. I'm trying to make sure I'm not confusing, but just having seen her in A Walk on the Woods, but I'm pretty sure that was, yes, I'm pretty sure it was. And she has a love story with an up-and-coming musician. And that's pretty much what the movie is. This love story and her trying to kind of will her brother out of this coma. It's very dramatic. It's all very dramatic. But there's still an appeal to it. It's one of those movies where if it's not your thing, it'll probably drive you fucking crazy, and I get that. There's kind of a begin again vibe to it, which is a movie I didn't like, but this one was fine. I think that's mainly due to Hathaway's charm and how she's able to kind of, she can't always rise above her material, but every now and then she finds a way, and I don't think this movie would have been the same without her kind of, you know, charm and what she has bringing to it. So it's charming enough, and I guess romantic enough. I don't know. The romance kind of seems a bit sudden, and it's kind of hard to tell where it's gonna go, and if you even really care that much. But you're definitely more invested in her brother, who is just laying there motionless. I don't know what that says about the love story portion of the movie, but and the interactions with her and her mom are really good too. So once again, it's fine, especially if this is your type of thing you're really gonna take to it, and if it's not, you'll probably feel more like I did watching Begin again. So there's that. That's a generous 2.5, I guess. All right, our next to last movie is Ride. This is a fun movie. This is a movie I can recommend, despite the fact that it's getting pretty much the same star amount as most of them. This movie is written, directed by, and starring Helen Hunt. And she has a very close relationship with her son, until one day he decides that he's going to move to the beach and become a surfer. Her son is Brenton Thwaites, by the way. I know, dude's been good in like one movie and terrible in the rest. I know, yeah. I've given the guy so much shit. But he's alright here. But it's mainly the story of a mother and son, and how the son is kind of trying to pull himself away. But then the story really kicks in when she follows him there, and when he says, you know, you don't know how to do that. They're both trying to be writers. She's kind of a successful writer, and he is not, but he's trying to be. So instead he goes for something that he knows that she can't do, which is become a surfer. So, she follows him there to the beach and teams up with Luke Wilson, who is a surfing instructor, and tries to become a surfer to impress her son, basically. And yeah, there's something really charming about it, and it's very... Hunt brings a real... It's definitely more of a comedy than anything, and it succeeds well with that, and it's a very charming movie, but there are scenes that bring it forward, and there's also something going on with just the Hunt character in general, how she's... The opening scene of the movie is her sitting outside her son's door when he's little, and then she gets up and walks away as if she wasn't there when she hears him coming, so he doesn't know that she's been there all night, just outside his door because she can't... There's a plot point later as to why she wants to stay so close to him. But when we get to that point and you think about the plot in general, it sounds kind of funny and quirky when you say it, like she's going to be a surfer because she wants to impress him. It's actually like really sad underlying, because she just this is how desperate she is to not be away from him. That she followed him there, and she's going to learn to surf just so that he'll kind of accept her still. Because they've been like best friends for life up to this point. He decides to move away. And it's really... Well, Luke Wilson makes a decent love interest, even if that story kind of happens relatively... There's a lot of way too fast love stories in here. I guess you do what you do with your runtime. But another interesting thing about this movie, she has a really good hold on it from a director standpoint. Her other directorial outing was Then She Found Me with Colin Firth, which is a really underseen, really underrated movie that's also worth checking out. But yeah, I really like this movie. She's really, really good in it, and she has a real hold on it. The writing is well done. It's even down to, a lot of people might think it's a bit too frenetic, but another thing that actually stood out to me was the editing. The editing in this movie is surprisingly really well done also. But, like I said, it's one of those types that could be seen maybe as a bit over, frantic, but I thought it was, particularly well done. So, yeah, it's just a really nice, it's just a nice movie, actually. I was going to say 2.5. I think I'm actually going to go with 3 now that I've revisited it. Alright, our last movie is The Forger, which stars John Travolta.
Nice.
This is another one of those movies where it kind of sets itself up to kind of be some... I don't know. I don't know if there's a trailer that exists, and I don't know anybody that's even heard of it. It was a very, very small movie that just kind of came out for some reason. But the setup is that we have John Travolta, who has just been let out of prison, and of course he is there's an art heist going on here at some point. But in the meantime, now that he's out of jail, he wants to reconnect with his son, who is Ty Sheridan, and his father, who is Christopher Plummer. And they're all kind of in this heist together. They're kind of do their criminal thing, and then the son kind of is like, hey, we've never really hung out. Let's, do this stuff together. And you kind of think it's going to be a movie. Like, when I kept seeing it, I kept thinking it was going to be like The Art of the Steal, that Kurt Russell movie that I've pretty much already forgotten. But this movie drops a weird bomb right in the middle of it. Not even in the middle of it, really quickly. This is what the whole movie is. This whole thing about them kind of doing a little art heist / forgery thing, it's like the last 10 minutes of the movie. The rest of the movie is Ty Sheridan being diagnosed with a deadly brain tumor. So this is their last chance to hang out with him and do exciting stuff and get him laid and let him meet his mom. It's bizarre. It's a really bizarre approach to a movie like this. I'm not quite sure which one it wants to be. And they're being chased by a laughable cop played by Abigail Spencer. No offense to her, but there's just... Okay, look, no offense to actresses at all, actually. This is a writer thing. Have you ever noticed in movies like this how hard it is to take female cops seriously? Because they're always written like they want to be like wannabe tough characters, and they try to do the hard talking tough cop thing, and they just end up really laughable. I'm really thinking of that abortion of a performance that was Julia Benz in the Boondock Saints sequel, which is probably the worst performance I've ever seen in my entire life, despite the fact that she's a relatively capable actress. But let's not talk about that. We're already talking about brain tumors. Obviously, Ty Sheridan is really, becoming an actor that people are watching out for, especially since he's still really young. You got a veteran like Christopher Plummer here. Travolta could really use a good role. Something decent could have come out of this, but to be honest, I just don't know what this movie wants to do, or what it wants to say, or what it wants to be. It's just a weird-ass concoction here. But there are some charming scenes, particularly between the father and son dynamic, and the whole, let's give him one last great ride before a brain tumor kills him for some reason. I don't know. But that's just how I'd describe that movie. It's just a mixed bag of what the fuck is this? So
Alright.
that would be 2 stars, because the Travolta and the dynamic and all that, because Travolta's been in a lot of shitty movies like this that don't really get these big releases, and you just kind of gotta, but he makes you want to like the movie better. So he would have fit in A Walk in the Woods, that's for sure. So
yeah.
He makes you want to like the movie more than you do, but the movie itself kind of prevents you from that. So
that's all we've got.
Yes.
And if you need a refresher to what the star amounts were, it's in the description bar below, so check that out. This will be the end of your limited release video here on AJ's Movie Reviews. Next week we're going back to normal.
Yes, thank God.
Regal Film Festival next week. So it's time for a lot of stuff you have missed. Reviews, things such as like The Maze Runner and Everest and Black Mass, and there's a bunch of things coming. So stay tuned. A couple more days left in Orlando. If you want to RSVP to the meetup we're doing at Halloween Horror Nights on October 4th, which is this Sunday, you're more than welcome to do so. And this Sunday will also mark, sounds like the return, potentially, of scary-themed verses for the month of October. But you will have to wait and find out.
It'll be starting that way.
Your cryptic comment is going to be Witch. So I think I really could say, I'd say something else, but I'd probably give it away even further. That being said, I want to thank you guys and girls out there for watching. AJ, any parting words?